Great. Thank you. That'll help. I need to go help a faculty member, but I want to be able to go back and catch up. Thank you so much.
Okay, no worries. So we should probably move on because we are actually on the hour. Sorry about that. And now it's on to professional development with Lisa.
Alrighty. I see that you all have a couple of items on the agenda. What specifically are you, do you want me to just talk about those things, or?
Sure. I just, a few weeks ago you and Jill had asked me what I was thinking about for the fall webinars, and I sent you a list of 3 things that had been on the spring webinars and had fallen off because other topics came up. And I don't think and so I just wanted, I think you probably saw these in the survey if you were able to look at it, but the survey is not that easy to read. So I pulled them out and I put them into the July 15th notes just to give you the feedback from the rest of the team, the members, about what they thought would be interesting.
That's awesome. And so I pulled all of the, pulled all of the different sources of that into a Google Doc for Jill and I, and so we have a list. And we have so we have the list from the meeting of the topics that were brought up in the actual meeting. We have from the survey, and then we have the ideas that you had from that didn't get touched on last semester. So as soon as we have those dates, we can reach out. I'm thinking that if we start with Canvas Commons, because I've been researching Canvas Commons also for Maricopa, and I know that as soon as we have more data, more resources in there, the better it's going to be. And I saw some of Christy's materials and some other materials on specifically OER and some other great materials out there. So that might be a really timely topic to help people see what it is and find a new place to share resources, which I think could be great. And then there's so many different topics, so Jill and I just need to look through those and prioritize them, and then once we have the dates, reach out to people. So I think that we're ready to go on that first one, working with Christy, and then the others, and just as soon as we have the dates.
Great, and if you can share, your list of topics, with us as well, and do reach out to us because, everybody on this call and beyond in our executive team knows people who are involved in different aspects of OER. So you don't have to, come up with names all on your own. Chances are, if you've got a topic, people will be able to provide you some names.
Excellent. And right now we already have, I think, in all the topics that have been shared, we have enough to cover the whole year. But people sometimes aren't available, so I'll definitely get those out to everybody. I'll put it in. I'll move it into the folder so everyone can see it.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I would say one thing, and this may be just because I tend to be a little disorganized, but it's kind of nice sometimes to leave some gaps so you don't plan the entire year in advance. Not that we can't throw in an extra webinar if we want, but sometimes it's nice because things come up that, and it's like, oh, I wish we had time for a webinar on that. So yeah.
Yeah, we figured we'd plan the first semester and not touch spring until probably November, December.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's great. And then we did get a lot of feedback on the toolkit and the need for the toolkit. So and you had a few people who volunteered to help with that. So let us know how we can help with that. Quill and I talked a little bit about that, and I know some of you may need to leave if you're not directly involved with the toolkit, or you have other things to do. But we talked about just a little bit about it. Obviously, I worked with Paul and James, and there was one other person, Donna, as well, and then we had one other person in Pennsylvania who has, unfortunately, she had to change jobs, so she's no longer with our membership. But so we actually put something together last summer. So I can take you through that if that makes sense, or you can take a look at it yourself on there. I thought maybe I could actually, yeah. So whatever makes sense there in terms of if there's something there that you find useful to pull in to a new and improved toolkit.
Absolutely, and I would love to set a time that you can walk me through it, and probably me and Jill. I know Jill's had more experience with the toolkit than I have, so I think that would be fantastic.
Okay, yeah, we can do something like that in August or early September, if that makes sense, because I think that's something that's later on your calendar.
That's perfect.
And then I know that Quill, anything else around PD, Lisa?
No, I think that's it. In the early fall, I'll also start working on the badging and meeting with people to get that moving as well. We may need some graphic design support, and so I'll definitely keep you posted on how that's moving and what the needs are and what it entails.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely get you support on that in the graphic design area. And potentially in the technical area, sounds like you have a tool, but our technical director is quite knowledgeable around all sorts of areas, so he might be able to assist as well.
Fantastic.
Super. Right. So, and Quill, I think you wanted to speak to the special interest groups.
More of an idea that I'm just floating in the world. So after our membership meeting, we heard from Richard Sebastian, who was looking for opportunities maybe to be involved in a wider scale. And Richard is at the, I want to say state board, but it's not the way you name it, in Virginia. And I was thinking about how many of our members now are more statewide leadership saying we're interested in open and joining as a statewide member. And I was wondering if there's a need for those folks that are at that level, I lead the whole state initiative around open education, to have state and province-wide, to have their own kind of interest group to deal with issues that they deal with that maybe we don't deal with at the local institutional level. And I'm thinking things like statewide policies or statewide funding opportunities. And I'm curious to know if you think that that would make sense to have an interest group in that way.
I'm sorry, this is Preston. I'm not sure. I mean, I can see both sides of it. I would want to make sure that we were careful not to make it seem as though that there was not a need or a benefit for individual institutions to be part of an organization like CCCOER. If everyone said we don't need to be a member because our state system is going to be a member, that could come back to to significantly hurt the membership of the group. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think we'd have to be very careful. It would almost be a shift in what the group has, I think, been doing over the last few years. So I'm just throwing that out there just to make sure that it's thought through carefully, the pros and cons. I think that state organizations are important. I think that state policy discussions are very important. I just don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure.
And I agree with some of what you have to say, Preston, because I have this conversation in California. We have about 6 or 7 colleges that are members in California, plus the state is a member, which of course brings in all 112. But Oregon has no individual members. They simply have a central organization. Washington is the same, simply because Oregon and Washington decided to do it statewide originally. And so after that, none of their colleges felt they needed to join. And what happens is we get less representation. So I think those are really good, valid points. Oh, there's now 113. Thank you, Cynthia. But I think Quill may be actually looking at something slightly different. So, but I'm glad you brought that up, Preston, because it is an issue, and it means less funding, and it also means less participation when we have one person who represents an entire state.
Maybe we should also work on, and Una, you and I can always do this together, maybe we should work up a mini campaign around what individual membership buys an individual institution, just from the perspective of then we could talk to those institutions. And I know I happen to work at one of them, so I know how this works out, where individual membership isn't prioritized because when the state joined, we were told, oh, look, you're already in. You don't have to do anything. And so I think it's not always clear to the individual institution what they're missing out on. So maybe, and I know you've written countless emails to explain to people what they're missing out on, but maybe we need something centralized. It's like, this is what institutional membership gets you, that your statewide membership doesn't. But this group would be more about those folks who are uniquely interested in those statewide things, and it wouldn't be necessarily about, how am I trying to put this? It would be more about making sure that somebody's keeping their eye on those issues that I think at an institutional level, I know that I don't follow as much, and maybe other folks are more on the ball with following things like the big policy network. I don't follow it as closely because it's not something that I deal with every day. And I think it is something that say our state board deals with on a regular basis.
Well, and one thing that Quill and I had talked about yesterday is Richard had asked for a role on the membership committee, but that was already taken at the OEC. And so we thought if he would like to volunteer for something, maybe he would like to be kind of, he could have the title of being the statewide interest group. You know, and notwithstanding, he could simply check in with folks at the statewide level. Washington is the only one where our statewide representative doesn't really have the time to participate very much. So Quill has pretty much for the last 3 years fulfilled that role, even though technically she's not a voting member, and now she's the president. But you know, it's kind of funny. I mean, so, but in the case of Virginia, Richard is more active. In the case of our other statewide memberships, actually, with the exception of California, yeah. So that might be an option, is simply to have a sensitivity to statewide interests and issues and policy. Maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe that's something that from time to time we have some sort of a focus group advisory meeting around statewide policy, and Richard could kind of guide that, and we could invite our statewide reps to participate.
I certainly think that it might make for a good webinar or something at some point in time. I had mentioned on my survey response the idea, and it's kind of out there, but about different levels of membership, as we talked about revenue and all of that. And maybe we should think about, you know, should there be a different level of membership and different dues for systems versus individual institutions? Maybe that's not a can of worms we want to open, but I just figured I'd throw it out there.
You know, it's been discussed before, definitely. And And you know, for the most part, OEC membership is university by university. So it's not like, for instance, yeah, University of California, Irvine is a member, but the whole system is not a member. So with CCCOER, back when we joined 4 years ago, there was really, we wanted to get things started. We wanted to make it as easy as possible for states, and because they bring along all their colleges to participate. And so we didn't really think that one through. So essentially, it's just almost about the same. A lot of states join as individual members. You can also join as an organization. So it's the difference between $500 and $700 a year. But I think it would be nice if, it's, you know, I think it's something that we should talk about policy-wise. At some time we should try and engage in that. And we might want to bring James in on that one too, because it would also require probably, you know, a policy change at the OEC level, since they handle our membership. But it's certainly doable, you know, and we can certainly have that conversation. So it sounds like a really good idea.
So I'm wondering if we should, because, you know, floating it once in a meeting when we're already over time isn't enough to make any clear decisions. Maybe we can float this one for a while, or table it, I guess would be the Robert's Rules way of saying that, and continue the discussion maybe online in an asynchronous way, and come back to it. And I do think it's interesting to kind of look at what levels of membership folks are at those bigger levels. Like, are they doing a system-wide membership of some sort? You know, are they joining as an organization or as an individual institution? And then maybe we can come back together and decide if we want to move forward on this one. So there's no urgency. It was just kind of a, maybe there's an interest in that amongst our membership. But, you know, the question is, who are we trying to serve? And I think we do serve institutions more than we serve the statewide organizations, because we focus on institutions. So for right now, maybe we table this and bring it up at another point.
That's probably a good idea.
Sounds good. So I know we're 17 after the hour. This has been a great meeting. I hope other people have found it useful. I apologize that we had to do it so quickly after our other meeting, but in some ways it's better to have the survey fresh in our mind and all that. And I'll be around, but not in the office for the next couple weeks. So I didn't want to wait until mid-August to get back together. So thank you. Closing comments, anyone?
I just had one question, and it may be kind of off topic, and I don't want to hold folks up, but there's a group of folks that I saw that are going to Lansing Community College in September. Yep.
There's probably Lisa, Quill, and I, and you.
Right.
Are going, and also.
I thought that the folks that I saw, most of them were online at this meeting. I just didn't know if there was any.
Yeah.
I haven't, you know, gotten any anything specific about that, and I didn't know kind of what the plan was or anything like that. And this probably isn't the place to talk about it, but I thought maybe we could at least find out another time to talk or share some information or something.
So did you get the paperwork from you got the paperwork, right? From
I got the email, yeah, with the stuff. I haven't had a chance to fill the stuff out, but I did get that email.
I emailed Regina last week for information as to what she wanted from us, like what she wanted us to do, and she told me that she'd be sending something out yesterday, which I did not receive. But you know, the summer is kind of the time when I know I can get my stuff together and prepare everything. So I had asked, you know, what are your expectations? What would you like from us? What deliverables are you hoping to have as a result of the day and as a result from what she's expecting each of us to do? And so I'm hoping we'll see that in the next day or two. Also, I sent all my travel stuff to the person that was specified, and they said, fine, but they do have a dinner planned for us on Thursday night.
Right, right. So I have been in touch with Regina. I know Quill has as well. I think simply because she knows us a little bit better, she's been kind of reaching out to us. Right now, she is putting the schedule together, and it kind of has been moving around a little bit. So there's going to be some keynotes in the morning, which will be, there's David Wiley and Nicole Allen, and then we were going to do a panel. I was going to interview you guys. So this is mostly her idea, although I think it's a nice idea. So it was, Quill, I think you're on that panel. Gosh, Quill, Preston, Lisa, there's somebody else on the panel. There's 4. Anyway, oh, I think there's Tina Ulrich from Northern Michigan College is coming. And then Nicole Finkbeiner got on the list, so she's now in the morning because she couldn't stay for the afternoon. So there's going to be a bunch of keynotes in the morning. The afternoon, right after lunch, of course, we're going to do the panel. So you guys are going to have to be really lively. This is the current thought. She and I are talking tomorrow morning, and I suspect that I delayed her sending out this because she wanted to talk with me, and just because I'm busy planning this event for the next 2 weeks, I was unable to talk to her till tomorrow. So, so the panel, you guys are scheduled, I think, for the afternoon to do the panel, and then she's having a workshop. And so a little bit of my feedback to her is that the morning's going to be very kind of information-driven and not very interactive. I don't know that for sure, but based on the schedule I saw. So she was going to ask you guys to help run the workshops in the afternoon on finding resources, and I said, yeah, I thought everybody would be great at that, and I was also happy to get in and help with that. And then there's going to be kind of a closing thing at the end where where it's next steps, and I gave her some tips on that, and she said, oh, would you lead that? And I said, well, I'd be happy to lead that, and I think it, so I don't want to go into. So I think the schedule's coming. She's been kind of going back and forth with people, but she definitely has goals for you guys, and I think that you guys will be wonderful. So does that help at all, Preston?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I was surprised to see such a large group from CCCOER and some of the other folks that were coming for this one-day event. It's going to be a pretty impressive event, I think.
I do too, and actually, it turns out that they are inviting folks from surrounding areas as well, so it's not strictly going to be Lansing, although I suspect they'll be the majority, because she did mention they're inviting librarians from other parts of Michigan, and I think faculty as well, although I don't know that for a fact. She contacted me originally, I don't even remember now when it was, maybe April or May, sometime like that, and she said, could you come to our summit day in September? And I already have David Wiley and Nicole Allen who've agreed. So of course I said, yes, I can come. And I don't know. It's kind of a loaded question. And she said, do you have any recommendations? And of course I recommended everyone in CCCOER that I thought would be good. And she said, okay, all right, great. And so it kind of evolved is what I think. And then Nicole Finkbeiner also wanted to join and talk about OpenStax. It is rather impressive. One thing I have told her over and over again is try to include your own people as well. We're kind of rock stars. That's really hilarious. But, we're coming in from different parts of the country, different states. We're there for one day, And so the more she can kind of highlight people at her college who might already be doing something open, even though it may not be called that, or highlight or bring her students in. I've really urged her to do that as well. Otherwise, it becomes almost a media event. Without the media, I guess. I don't. But you know, just having. You know, I don't know if you have any other thoughts about it. Let me know, because I will be talking to her tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds like a really good event. If it seems as though it's gotten a little out of hand, if maybe she didn't expect everyone that she invited to be available to come, you know, certainly I could bow out if necessary, but I certainly am prepared to come, and it would certainly be nice to see everyone face to face.
No, absolutely. I don't think so. I don't have that impression at all. That I think she's pleased with the people who are coming. So I just have emphasized that it's, you know, the ground troops are going to be there the next day, and the next week, and the next month, and we're not. So.
Una, when you meet with her, I know we've been going back and forth in email about whether she wants a second thing for librarians or whether the librarians need to be in the searching. And I think I've been really explicit about it really helps to have them there with their faculty. It's really necessary that they are engaged with their faculty in the searching process. But I would reiterate that, because I wouldn't want to pull the librarians out of a searching activity with faculty. But if she wants a webinar in advance on how librarians should search for OER, I'm happy to do that. Just because I think it's necessary for folks to be together.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that. I think she probably does feel like the librarians need some specialized training, but I think that might not be the right day for it. So that's wonderful that you would be willing to do that, and I can certainly mention that to her.
Thank you. And I think she's also really open to what we want to do with that panel, right? I'm trying to figure out if we should treat the panel like we treat our normal CCCOER panels and maybe have a few talking points already decided, or if you want to do it just as an open interview process.
Yeah, I think she's pretty open, but what she did was when she moved it to the afternoon, she made it an hour and a half long. So I think it's so when I heard she's been kind of moving things around. So when she moved it to an hour and a half, then I thought, well, it probably would be good to give each of you 5 or 10 minutes to talk about your projects. You all have really impressive projects going on. And that'll educate the audience somewhat about the kind of questions they want to answer. So I would say we would spend no more than half of that time, hopefully less, like 30 to 40 minutes tops, would be each of you giving a short presentation. And then it would be, we would have guided questions, but we would also, of course, open it up to the audience. So that was my thought if it was an hour and a half slot, but I'm open to whatever you think makes sense.
Yeah, I'm very flexible with whatever the group wants to do. I just had gotten the initial or the follow-up email with the directions for the paperwork, but I hadn't gotten anything related to the program, and that's why I was mentioning it, because I knew that I had a group of folks here that were involved. It wasn't because I had concerns about the program. I just really wasn't sure exactly what the expectations were, but I'm very flexible with whatever makes sense, and I will go along with whatever they would like.
Great, great. And I think part of it is Regina was on vacation for either 2 or 3 weeks, and she just got back last week, and she started finalizing the schedule. And so I suspect you guys will hear, we'll all hear next week what she has in mind. Because I think she talked to her provost, I think, was it last week, Quill? She talked to the provost. So she's kind of got approval from them at that level. So I think it's pretty close to being, set out. So, yeah. What I wanted to ask you guys is, getting to Lansing is not easy. They have an airport, but I don't think hardly anyone flies there. Does anyone have any insights into traveling to Lansing?
I did some research, and I am looking for the flight that I sent it to Payal, and I'm just looking to see what flight I had found. So yeah, because it's the timing, I could not get there in time for the dinner on Thursday. So it looks like Delta is the airline to go to Lansing, and they fly to Minneapolis, and then from Minneapolis into Lansing.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. I may be in Boston on the Thursday, so I was hoping to get from Boston to Lansing, but there's no way to get there without stopping 2 different places. It was like, oh my gosh, that's not going to be fun.
Yeah, and they have the shuttle that'll take you from Detroit into Lansing, but it just wasn't. I'd have to leave it to get back. I'd have to leave it 3 o'clock in the morning to get a flight back to Phoenix on Saturday. To get to Detroit and then get back. So you can check it out, Delta.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Detroit is a long ways from Lansing, actually. I think it was 90 miles or something. It's not close.
No, it's not close. And so you could take a shuttle bus, but it was not quick. And so to get on a 7 o'clock flight, it would have been just crazy.
Yeah. Okay, and then I think the other one is Grand Rapids, which is 60 miles, but it's probably less stuff flies into Grand Rapids. Oh well.
I think the travel's just hard. I am going to go into Detroit, so I'm going to miss the Thursday night dinner too.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I may too, because if I'm in Boston that day, I happen to be likely to do some training. It's just going to be really tough to get there in time for dinner, leaving Boston even at noon, because it just takes forever. Oh, well, maybe we'll all have dinner late at the hotel.
I was going to say, maybe they'll just choose to cancel it if we're all going to have the same problem. I can't imagine that Nicole and David are going to fly in any earlier. I mean, they're both always at the last minute.
Right. Yeah. Well, Nicole's a little closer, but still. Yeah.
Well, it'll be great to all be together. I'm really looking forward to meeting Preston in person and seeing everybody. It'll be nice and getting to share the work we're doing.
Super. All right, everybody. Well, have a great afternoon, and we'll all talk soon.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a really good day.
Yep. Take care. Bye-bye.